Move that page back like that, so to the signature page here. Not me.
Okay, I've got 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, and Craig is not going to be here. He wasn't quite feeling up to it today.
Did you?
You.
That was me.
Sorry.
For another day, we thank you, Lord, that we can come and we can do the county business together and that we can do the things that would benefit our community. Pray, thank you, Lord, for the hope that you've given us through your Son, Jesus Christ. Pray that you help each and every person to come to you and to live for you and according to your will so that one day we'll see you face to face. Lord, we pray today that you give us wisdom as we do the county's business. And that you would be with Craig, heal completely, and all the others today within our community that are sick. You would heal them and help them to be well. I pray that you would bless all of our veterans, as yesterday was a memorial for those who have given their lives and to all those that have fought for our country and our freedom. Lord, we pray that you would help us all to remember them and remember that what they did so each one of us could be free. We thank you for all these things in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. I messed it up today when I was leading it.
No, you didn't. You didn't mess it up near as bad as Larry does.
Oh, I was trying to pull and help him out.
Okay, at this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. See any takers? Inter-precinct project schedule and staffing, anything to discuss there? It's wet.
Anybody know where the keys to the Chicksburg is? It's locked up.
I'll ask. I don't have them.
Me, I don't know it.
Services to today.
Who actually parked it out there?
Well, it's parked.
I mean, do you remember who was driving it at the time?
Dick.
Dennis
But,
was?
Yeah,
And
he
he don't know.
left it all open.
Oh, okay. Somebody's coming in.
I had to shut them off.
Somebody aggravating you?
Huh?
Somebody just aggravating you?
I did.
I'll ask Jeff when we get out of here.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and do H and I first. We'll get those out of the way. Court to discuss and consider the tax abatement application of IP Lumina 2 LLC, including terms and conditions of any proposed abatement agreement and authorization of notice to be published and provided to other entities, and setting a date for the public hearing on the proposed abatement agreement. I'm looking at July 6, 2021.
They're ready to proceed with the second phase. You know, when y'all voted to do the first phase, we said there was going to be a phase 2. They're ready to go ahead. They submitted to me a proposed agreement, and it's identical to the one you approved last month. So just throwing that out there, if that's what y'all want to do. I know you talked about it briefly at the last meeting that this was going to be 2 phases, and we designated 2 different reinvestment funds. This one will be over at the intersection of 1105 and 1274. Does that sound right? Somewhere over in that neighborhood. Roughly the same size, 360 megawatt solar farm. So if you give tentative approval, we'll go ahead and get that published in the newspaper for 30 days lead time, and they'll be here at the next meeting to make the presentation and discuss the actual terms of the abatement agreement, see if we can come to some sort of an agreement, but they've already submitted a proposal that mirrors the last one.
I like being consistent. We've been consistent since 2005. There are a few people that don't understand why we would give an abatement. and take money in lieu of taxes. And what people don't realize a lot of times is there's a lot of investors that are in most of these projects. And Reef Chemical was one that was identified as someone that didn't ask for an abatement. Well, they're doing it privately. These other, like the wind farms and the solar farms that are being now, are multiple investors that are in them. I'm in investments in these kind of things myself. But I want to know that the money that is being put out to keep these or to get this thing built is going to be level for a certain period of time. And with taxes, you have no idea what they're going to be. And a lot of that's due to our legislature because they do our education budget, their education budget, and they add in there the amounts that appraisals will go up over that biennium. And so investors are not going to invest in something that they have no idea what the cost of that's going to be over a period of time. But you give them a 10-year type of abatement, they know what that cost is going forward. Then they are able to invest in that because they have an idea of what's going on. Nobody wants to invest into something and then lose money because they don't know what the costs are. And so I make a motion that we give this tax abatement application or agree to it with IP aluminum for the second course that they're putting in.
Setting a date of public hearing on July 6th.
Yes.
That's a motion and a second. All in favor? Court to discuss and consider setting a date for public hearing to amend the Northern Scurry County Energy Reinvestment Zone Number 2 to include additional sections of approximately 1,300 acres and authorizing publication thereof on about June 15th.
Absolutely.
So,
I will get that needs to be published as well. I'll get with Cynthia, we'll get that to the newspaper. And what date did you say, Judge?
June 15th.
Okay, so we'll do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
That should give us plenty of time.
All right. All in favor?
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Since we're gonna change things up and just mess around with this, what we're gonna do is, CR 2137 is in Craig's precinct. We're gonna go ahead and table that so he can be here to discuss that. Let's go ahead and discuss and consider insurance information and plans from Kathy.
So Kathy's here. This was in your packet last time, but it is the plans that are being considered. The first page is our current plan and what it will go up to if we decided to stay with our current plan. The green tab are alternates and the orange tab is additional alternates.
Since additional alternates since our last discussion?
No,
No, it's including the ones
Yeah.
we discussed then. Okay.
so we haven't added any more alternates.
Oh, yeah.
to
Yeah, I'll
to
need
that.
one for the
So
minutes.
If you would like more, Kathy would certainly love to pull those numbers.
Well, thank you.
Question, did you have another one of those for the minutes? Okay.
I was gonna say, she didn't copy
Thank you.
this, cause.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've got, we pulled a lot of information. The first, as Kirsta said, the first couple of pages is the actual renewal. And that's without changing your plan at all. That's leaving it the $500 deductible for individual and $2,500 maximum out of pocket on the individual side. Like I said, that's making absolutely no changes with the 12% increase on the rate. Because we did discuss, I want to go over the alternates. Because I'm sorry, a 12% increase is just not sustainable for anyone. Your employees, if you passed that entire 12% onto them, they can't afford the 12%. And I'm sorry, as an employer, neither can the county, neither can the county at this point. So What we did was we looked at several different options. The first one we looked at was actually moving to a defined contribution system to where the county approved couple four plans for the employees to choose from, including some HSAs, and then the court just setting a defined contribution, and that's however much that they were going to pay if the plan that the employees chose was under that defined contribution. It went into like an HSA account. And then if it went over the amount that the county had set to pay as a defined contribution, then the employees made it up. The thing is because y'all's plan was so low and y'all subsidize your dependent coverage to the degree that y'all do, the plans that we could come up with doing that was not a good deal. So we just started looking at coming up with different plans. The first one is option one is a 1200 NG. It raises the deductible from 500 individual to 1,000, so that's a $500 increase on that. The maximum out of network individual is 3,000, so you combine those, it's 4,000 total. It only went up a total of 1,000 for out of pocket on the employees. It is still higher than your current rate, but it's a little bit lower. If I can do my math this morning, about $65 per month per employee on that employee only rate, less than what your renewal is. And of course, the more you go up on that deductible, the lower the cost of the plan's going to be. The next one I looked at was a $1,500 deductible. And for anyone who's not familiar with kind of out in the real world employers, most employers out there offer a $1,500 deductible or $2,000 deductible. For the pool, the $1,500 deductible is kind of the average that most groups are moving to, just because the low dollar deductible plans are just not sustainable at this point. That again is a little bit higher than your current rate. Is about an $18 increase per employee on the employee only rate from what you're currently paying. And then what we also did is, because that is a specialist, it has a specialist copay. So right now, your current primary care physician, even with the specialist, is a $25 copay. That would raise that copay to $30. But if you go to a specialist, anything with an ist on the end of their, what they're called, the doctorate, it's a $40 copay. And then what the judge and I had talked about was we can actually add in a $100 deductible on the pharmacy side, to where the employee pays $100 at first, and then they start getting their prescriptions at the copays. Most prescriptions, most employees are going to have that $100 deductible met very first month. We see that with all of our groups that have that. Just because prescriptions are so expensive. It's that same $1,500 plan, adding that $100 deductible to the prescription is
An $8.12 increase
from your current plan. And then the last option that we have is the Blue Essentials. It's option number 4. And like I told the court last time, oh, okay.
No.
Okay. It's in these, and it's the very last page. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the HMO network. And it's nothing against HMOs. My issue comes in with the fact that there is no out-of-network benefit. Because sometimes whenever you go to the doctor, especially if it's an emergency, or you go in and have some sort of x-ray done, whoever's reading that x-ray may actually not be in network. It's something sometimes you're not given a choice over. And that happens a lot with HMOs. So that just means the employee's going to have to pay more out of their pocket. If this was one that had a built-in out-of-network pocket, an out-of-network benefit, I'd say let's go for it. But I personally don't like that. That just increases the cost on the members, and coming from a county employee perspective, it could be hard for them to come up with that money. I mean, I've had where writing a $25 check, if it went through before my paycheck did, I was going to be in the red for that month in my bank account. So, like I said, I'm not a big proponent of it. However, we did look at the network and the providers based on your current, and it's this set of documents. Out of 699 providers that your employees have seen over the last year, there were a total of 28 providers, 28 out of 699 providers that were not in network. 7 of those providers, 7 of that 28 were in network with the Blue Choice, which is the PPO network, but they weren't in network with the Blue Essentials, the HMO. So, less than 1% disruption, but sometimes that disruption, whenever you do it in dollars and cents for the member, can get high. Like I said, some pretty good savings. There's 2 things, in my opinion, what y'all need to consider is changing up your plan a little bit, having the employees pay a little bit more on that side for their actual, what they're going to be going to the doctor for, things like that, going up on that deductible. I would also, look at the subsidization rates. How much the county is paying in towards dependent coverage. I was kind of shocked. I had known about it in years past where the county didn't always pay 100% of the employee only, but it never registered until we were really talking about it this time around. Nearly every single employer, most employers, will pay 100% of the employee only. And most of y'all's coverage, y'all have more that fall into that employee only tier than you do the others. One of the things that I did was created a spreadsheet. Kirsta has it. I pulled the tier numbers from your last billing that we have on file. So I broke out how many has employee only coverage, how many is employee children, spouse, family. And then I entered in your current subsidization rates, what the county's paying versus how much the employees are paying, and the retirees, and then plugged in all of the rates for these alternates. So you will see, exactly how much per month based on your current subsidization the county's going to be paying, how much the employees are going to be paying at those different per individual, and then per month, and then per year. I did it for all 4 options because those are the options that we feel like would be the county would best benefit from it. It's very easy to navigate because you change the subsidization amount in one spot and it carries it through that whole spreadsheet. So you can look at real-time numbers and what to budget for at that point. I do not envy y'all at all in making this decision because it is a very difficult, either way you look at it, it's going to be hitting your employees in the pocketbook. And that's always a hard choice to make. We do have some time. You don't have to make a decision before June 30th. However, this is one of the last days that I can be here due to other court meetings. But I am available by phone call and email anytime y'all need it, but we will need a decision by June 30th. And then of course, changing the anniversary date, I almost forgot again.
Yeah.
It was brought to our attention that y'all's actual budget year is January 1st through December 31st. Your plan year is October 1st through September 30th. How y'all have managed this entire time, budget-wise, getting it as close as you can, that's very difficult to do. We can change it this year. We do have to go ahead and renew October 1st, but we will run whatever plans y'all choose through April 30th. We restarted over on May 1st, same rate. If y'all change plans to a different deductible, the employee's not having to pay $1,500 or whatever within the 6-month time period and it restart over. That will not happen. Whatever deductible plan y'all decide on, we continue that through the entire time period. They're not having to pay double. But we'll restart the plan, same rates, everything on May 1st and run it through December 31st. So employees will have a little bit more time to work on that deductible. The reason why we're having to split it up like that is because our system and Blue Cross Blue Shield system does not recognize anything over 12 months for a single plan year. It has a tendency to fry them and they get really confused. We tried it before and it was a mess. Do y'all have any questions about the deductibles and stuff with the different plans? I went through it pretty fast. I blocked off the entire date for y'all. So if y'all want to discuss it more.
What is the deductible and copay plan that if we kept what we have, then raise the deductible and copay and that would get us either parity to what our cost is today or below?
You would have to, without going through that Blue Essentials network, because that's the only one that will get you below what you're currently paying. And that's, on that, the deductible is relative, is $500. It's basically the same plan. Where you see the differences in the plan is on, for those members that carry dependents. The family deductibles are a little bit higher. But that's really the only one for the same plan that gets you under. The closest one that we can come to what you're currently paying is the $1,500 deductible. With the $100 deductible on the prescriptions. And that's $967.20 per month. And you're currently at $959.08.
And so for years, and I don't know why we hadn't thought of this before, we have enabled our employees to live a life that is healthy, even though we've had healthy county. But there hadn't been any incentive monetarily to be in the group and to actually look and manage our own health. And so what I would like to see is that we get at or below our cost today. And then we marry that with a raise to help pay rather than every time we come in, we're just paying more and more, and we're getting sicker and sicker. And so, you know, when you actually cost you money, you want to get healthy, or because you don't want to have to pay those high deductibles that they would have to pay if they didn't want to be healthy. So I talk to people all the time. One of them, I said to them, you know, if you will actually take the time and eat clean food and not be doing the thing, eating so much sugar and salt and all the things you're doing, you could actually probably, because it just had borderline diabetes, you can just get, you know, your body will heal itself. And he says to me, I just have to take one pill a day, it doesn't matter. Well, that's the mindset of most people. I'll take a pill, I'll be better, and it doesn't cost me anything. So when it starts coming out of the back pocket, then people start saying, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should listen to what people are saying. Because there's tons and tons of people now that are saying it more and more. Eat clean food, even people that didn't used to. Exercise a little bit, walk. You know, we had that one of our meetings that we went to in Austin. If you just walk 30 minutes a day, it makes a world of difference.
A world of difference.
But you can't get people to do that if there's no incentive to do it. I'm going to live my life the way I've been living. I'm going to be a couch potato. I'm going to eat what I very well want to. It's not costing me anything. And so, but then if you marry that with a raise that we could talk about during budget time, then you have the opportunity of not only getting incentive to be healthy, but you also are going to raise the amount that the county is putting into a retirement for these same people. So that when they do get there, because the statistics that I looked at and have looked at for many, many years is 99% of all people that retire in poverty. Why? Because Social Security isn't Social Security. It isn't security at all. It's false thinking. And I know everybody doesn't think that they're going to ever get old, but we always do, don't we? And then we're sad because, and I've talked to many elderly people that have retired, and they are sad because even though they got $300,000 or $400,000 in retirement funds from the companies that we're working for, they spent it within a matter of 3 to 5 years. And then they're really sad because they don't have any way to make that money again because they're not healthy enough to do it because of the mindset. And so if that's what I'd like to discuss. Let's get this thing to where people want to be healthy. They want to work. They want to take ownership of their own health, not go to a medical specialist or doctor to do that. So that's just my thoughts.
Now, and actually, in a presentation that Quincy, the director of the pool, had showed, and I want to say it was a judges and commissioners conference whenever we first moved over to Navicus, was doing a presentation on the savings and why we made the move. And I think he shared the cartoon, and it was literally, it was like at a pharmacy, and it was get your prescriptions here, learn about healthier living on this side. And there was like a partition there. The line for the prescriptions, it was like a wraparound, and there was like 2 in the other one. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Most employers are putting in those stipulations that either the employees go and have an annual physical done, or they sign a tobacco usage. You know, if they're going to use tobacco, then they're going to pay for it. We've got some counties who are moving to that. So there's all sorts of things that y'all can do with that. And because y'all did approve the CSI last time, there's different things we can do with that. The thing is we also need to get the employees into the mindset. You start walking 30 minutes a day, and it's amazing just going from one office to the other, taking the stairs, how much that adds up over time. But it's not an immediate. It does take some time to reverse the damage that's already been done. It's not an immediate. Because my son was wanting to lose some weight, and he literally just stopped drinking any types of sodas. I mean, he drinks sweet tea, all this sort of kind of stuff, but he went for a physical. The doctor told him blood pressure's a little elevated. He is a police officer, and had a bad night. And he was telling the doctor it was that. And then when I had to come do this today, and there was a little shot. And he goes, well, he said that could account for part of it. He said, but I think it's more your weight. So, Ethan was like, well, I'm going to do this and get this taken care of. But within a week of just stopping drinking the sodas, he lost 2 pounds, and he was like, woohoo. Well, 2 weeks later, he was like, I'll double that each time. And I'm just like, don't work that way, baby. You got to drink that water too. And, get up and start actually walking. Well, 6 weeks in, now he's really starting to see, his weight's coming off. He's feeling better. But it was to the point, because it's a local physician, saw him over this past weekend. And he told me, he's like, I'm proud, So, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It is going to take some time to get there. But it is, pre-diabetes is one of our big things that we can reverse. The other thing that we've all admitted to within the pool is last year, we had horrible participation with our activity challenges. It was just everybody went into kind of survival mode. And I'm telling you, even pool staff, because we participated in those, I didn't complete a single one of the challenges last year. And normally with going to meetings and doing presentations and stuff, it's not hard for me to. But I would also, each night whenever I got back to the hotel room, as a stress reliever, I went and got on the treadmill for 30 minutes, 30, 45 minutes, depending on stress level. And I felt better. In the last year, I have felt crummy. And that's why. I'm actually getting out and making sure I get outside and start walking again, and I feel better. Am I back to where I was a year ago? No. But I do feel better. So it is. It's just, we got to get out of that mindset. It's easy. I can just take a pill and be done with it. Because whenever they have that mindset, whether it be diabetes or blood pressure is the other one. Whenever they have that mindset and that's what they do, a year or two later, they're going to be up to 2 pills a day or injections, so we have to get them to buy into it also and start changing mindsets. The biggest thing on that is not telling them you can't do this, because nobody likes to be told no. So if that's what y'all want to do, me and Stacy, we can come on board and help. Because like I said, it's not no, it's like, let's try this instead. Positive reinforcement.
Well, you got to give them an incentive.
Yes.
And if you don't give them an incentive, and money speaks the last.
I've used Hutchinson County in the past as a prime example. They started out with the yearly physical. If non-employees paid $25, I think, a paycheck towards their benefits. It was automatically deducted. They had like an 85% participation that first year. Second year, after employees paying that much out of because it was already deducted from their paychecks. After that first year, they hit almost 100% participation. Then they did one for tobacco cessation, and that was cigarettes, dipping. They included the electronic cigarettes. I mean, they went across the board, any type of tobacco. And that one is about $300 a month. And that one, they didn't have a lot of takers on. Those that were already doing it, some of them were not going to give it up. They still have quite a few that would much rather pay that $300 a month.
Wow.
Than quit those. Yeah. And I'm TAC employees is looking. They're talking to our board about, doing stuff like that. So, and most employers out there do already require it. So,
I think it's a year of everything's on the table. So have a discussion, we'll run the numbers, figure out kind of somewhere in between where we can meet on behalf of our budget and on behalf of our employees. So, if you want to look at numbers, I'm more than happy. We can run those.
Which numbers do you want to have some ready, similar to what you're talking about for the next meeting?
I would like for you to get us back to break even at very least, and maybe even below that, but.
So
again,
do you want to look at a higher deductible
Mhm.
or?
I don't want to change to a HMO. I think that's a big
And we've had some
mess. to
comments
get
on
into.
that as well, that's not a good idea, and I agree that that's not a good idea.
So currently, the numbers that we have, we're currently at a $1,500 deductible, and that's an increased cost of $8 to the plan for the employee only. So do you want to look at a $2,000 deductible?
I would. Or even 2,500.
Yeah, I'd look at that and also that $100 prescription deductible.
Okay.
And then get with tax and get them to come and let's talk to all the employees that are interested. Not about the cost of the plan, but this is going to cost you more because we can't continue to incentivize someone that doesn't want to be held.
Yeah, I
So-
think just running preliminary numbers, if there are also, by lowering how much we are subsidizing our dependents, that can greatly change the cost to how much Scurry County is paying out. So if we ask them to pay more for their dependents, that changes our numbers significantly.
So
So
let's look at it both ways.
Yeah, I'd like to know what that version 2, as far as the dependents.
okay.
and I can have those additional alternates to y'all this afternoon.
Because just looking at having the employee pay 75% for their dependents decreases the cost to our monthly bill about $20,000. And so that's where the employee pays 25% for their dependents and Scurry County pays 75% for the dependent. So that's a significant change.
It's $250,000 a year, roughly, at $20,000 a month.
Yeah.
So even at that, you're incentivizing our employees to help their children
Mhm.
become the next generation of understanding and managing their own health.
Yeah.
Rather than running to the doctor.
And that's at the $1,500 deductible. So,
That's 50, at the 1,500.
mhm.
There are some employees though who, and keep this in mind, who have children who have things that they cannot control through diet and exercise. That do have those high bills, and you increase how much they have, they're 75% to 75%, and they absolutely will not be able to afford the insurance. So,
I
keep
think
that in
that's
mind as well.
why if you look at both sides of this, if you
Mhm.
increase the deductible and you increase how much the employee is paying and give them a flip side of a pay raise,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily seen as such a, cost.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's gonna be the other key to it is,
But then
way for
again,
them to-
I do have to say, we're currently paying significantly for our dependents, and to really change how much the county is paying and not going up so much on the deductible. Sure, we can go up to a $2,500 deductible, but as long as we're subsidizing the dependents the way we are, our bill is always going to be what it's currently at.
So that's where the money is at.
Yes,
Subsidized.
it's at the subsidization.
The other
So,
thing we discussed was, those employees that have family members who have the option to get insurance with their employer. That needs to be looked at as well, because we have some who can get insurance through their employer, but our insurance is better,
so they've come
not
on
necessarily
board.
cheaper, so we have that cost as well.
Mhm.
But to significantly change our numbers, it's going to have to change that subsidization.
And, regardless of what you do, it's gonna hurt people to have to take over those kind of things. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And I don't think we ought to do it without considering a raise to help them to pay for that.
I agree.
But we've got to incentivize people that can to become healthy. It's like a child that was not more than 2 years old and had cancer. Well, the mother went to the conventional and they told them no help. They went to Brazil, and within a year, this child is completely well and has no cancer. And it's one of the most insidious cancers you could ever dream of. I've read the book.
Mhm.
And of multiple other people that things that doctors say can't, because what they're taught in medical school, it's only can be managed, or it can only be treated this way. And that's just not true always. And so there if you want to do the research, and if your child is sick, you do, there are things that can be done beyond what medical schools teach. And so that's incentivizing people to do those kind of things, to look at those kind of things. And like I said, it doesn't make any difference what you do. You're going to hurt someone whenever you don't pay for what they've been getting the same way that you keep going forward. But we're at a place in our county that we can no longer do it. We want to. I'd love to do it. And I mean, I hate it that I think a pill is better than health, but that's their prerogative. But it's also up to us to make sure that they're not doing it because we're incentivizing them to do it.
Final note on, Kathy touched on, for our employee only. Last year we passed on the increase to the employee only plan. For every employee only, we can cover 2.4 employee onlys for the cost of covering an employee and family. So I think it's beneficial for us to cover 100% of the employee onlys.
Yeah, I don't doubt that.
If we, because currently it's 30 what per employee only,
36.
36.
I'd love to see an HSA, but those HSAs that are actually offered to us really don't incentivize health either. You can't buy clean food, or you can't purchase nutrients that you have found through testing that you're deficient in. And so those HSAs are really not conducive to health at all. It's the same old story. This is the things that you can buy out of your HSA, and you don't have any other choices but this, and that's terrible. And so I think the plan we have is the right plan. The deductible needs to be higher. The percentage that we pay for benefits for those that are family needs to be looked at.
Yeah,
And
we just need, like I said, the $36 for several employees that do have dependents. That'd go a long ways on the dependents. And, we just have to look at it, and we gotta consider the budget that's coming. 'Cause we've got to consider that. I mean, it'd be, in a perfect world, well, we pay for all of it, but we don't live in that world, and we never will. And, so I'd love to have some numbers on, of course, everything we've talked about, but what the effect would have by Scurry County paying the $36 per employee, how far that $36 would go on average for an employee and family. My point being, Terry mentioned a raise to pay for this. In a sense, that would be one, but I want to know on an average of, let's say you have four dependents, how far that $36 would help that employee that is paying that on their dependents.
If they're currently having their dependents covered by Scurry County, just for employee and children, and it could be 2, 4,
Mhm.
whatever. The county the total cost currently on our current plan is $1,523.72. The employee pays $133.86. So that makes what Scurry County is having to pay $1,389.86. So that's a 91% coverage. So Scurry County is having to pay 91% for those dependents. So
There's not a right answer and a wrong answer.
so these counties that, like you were talking about, that have instituted this and even TAG now talking about it, are they seeing healthier employees going forward? Are they having less large debt because of cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, or whatever?
For the most part, yes. This is where Hutchinson County is out of the normal because they're not. They, on average, almost perfectly, Scurry County's running with Hutchinson County. We're seeing the same diagnostic categories. So, numerous cancers, things like that they're experiencing also. There are healthy employees, yes. We're seeing almost, very limited of, $20,000 claims. It's either extremely large claims or extremely low dollar claims. So there's, in some aspects, we're seeing a change in theirs. They just, like I said, just like Scurry County, as long as those members are going to be on the plan, they're going to have extremely high cost claims. But overall, I think in our renewal video, I think Ashley said there was about 80% of our groups that had passed some sort of county specific incentive. And like I said, the main one for county specific incentives is just going and getting that annual physical. There was about 80% saw a huge decrease in their claims. And a lot of that's just because for those employees that aren't going and getting their annual physicals done, they don't know that they may have high blood pressure or, may actually be a diabetic until they have a catastrophic event. And, that's instantly a very high dollar claim. So, but I wanna say she said there was like 80% of the total group that had seen their claims decrease. And we're just continuing to see them decrease.
And we did do an incentive plan last week.
And we do have a company called Catapult that's coming in for our open enrollment this year. So they can get their physical right there at open enrollment.
So these, the things that we're doing to incentivize are great. We've got to have some dollar interest in there to make it even more, where people are turning to those kinds of things so they can learn what to eat, what not to eat, learn about chemical imbalance. Because my wife and I, she cooks for me all the time, and she eats the same things I eat. She hates sugar, and she doesn't drink sodas and all these other things. We drink clean water. But we hadn't been and had our blood drawn in 2 years, and come to find out she had a chemical imbalance, and caused her to have super anxiety to so much that she started getting AFib. And I would have never dreamed that would happen to us because of the way that we eat and drink and exercise. She's walking 30 minutes a day already. But at chemical imbalance, anything can happen. And so you really need to have your blood drawn and find out, because we can all have those kind of problems. There was a doctor in Odessa that was very clean eater, made sure he didn't get into all the other things, too high sodium, too much sugar, all these things, but he started feeling bad again, hadn't done any testing. Come to find out, all the things he was breathing from Midland, Odessa area, from all of the toxins in the air from oil field, that's what he was getting sick over. And so he had to fast or do some type of detox to get rid of those things out of his body, and he cleared up. And so it's a lot to learn, but it's worth learning to be healthy and vibrant and not cost you a ton of money or our community or business. Businesses can't stay in business without making a profit. Well, healthcare is becoming to where you can't make a profit. And of course, this is a totally different animal, but taxpayers can only pay so much. And so we've got to really think outside the box and start helping people get to that mindset. And it may take a generation to really see our health come to fruition. So, if we'd done this back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think we'd already be seeing it. And then hopefully at some point have an HSA that will allow you to go to to other than the regular medical field and get help from those that have proven time and time again that they can help people with Crohn's and with high blood pressure and diabetes and cancer and on and on. I think it's 50% of all the people that are in Germany are treated with mistletoe. Whoever even dreamed of that? With shots of mistletoe, and they get well. It's nuts what happens, but nobody. I didn't know that 10 years ago. It took study because I was interested in my health. And so that's what we've got to do. We've got to incentivize people, and we don't want to hurt them. That's not what this is about. It's not about hurting anybody. It's about incentivizing them to do the right thing for themselves, take ownership, and then help them through a different medium, and that would be raises if at all possible. And it should be possible because we've been taking on over and over again the extra healthcare costs, and it's running away from us.
Yeah.
And we can't continue to do it. We've got to do it.
Kirsten, what I meant a while ago when I mentioned the employee, the $36, what I meant by that is if we make the employee pay X amount of their dependents, how much would the $36 that they don't have to pay out of their check for employee only, would that add to that? I know it depends on.
It's that $36 when you get into the dependent area it's so minuscule.
Well, I'm sure it is, but what would it be, let's say, if we said they pay 36 and 36, $72 of that. 100 and, what did you say?
3386.
133, that's half, that's
Mhm.
50%. That is due to the 36 employee only pays. That's $36 more out of their check. And what would that do to the county's bill? I'm sure that was clear as mud.
I'm not sure I understand. So if the employee,
Don't help me, Melody. Okay.
if,
I'm not, believe me, I'm
Did
not.
you see Bull Creek running yesterday? That's what, the color of that water is the emission.
Okay.
I would like to say, if we took on the cost of the employee only
Okay.
to the county budget, it only affects it about $3,000.
Okay. Here we go.
It's so small, it's very minuscule at what it affects.
I understand. Okay. We do that. And I know this goes against what, because we did pass it on last year. Okay. But we've also got to make it affordable for the taxpayers. I mean, and there's not a right answer. But if you pay employee only, all right, which is $36.
Mhm.
Okay. Then you ask the employee to pay $36 also of their dependents. Okay, that's a $72, 50% on dependents at 133, roughly. That is being paid, yes, partially by the county because we're doing employee only. But if they pay another 36,
It's still, I mean, that would bring it to, I guess, an employee paying back to the employee and children. If they're currently paying $133, and you pay another 36 on top of that, it only brings that cost to the employee up to 169, where the total cost for the total bill for that is $1,523. So that doesn't really change the numbers that much.
It's not a big difference you said 1,500 total?
Yeah.
So you
Family.
take that 36 that instead of them paying for their insurance, they're gonna pay it on their dependent coverage.
yeah.
Well, you
Plus,
say plus another 36.
yes,
Okay, plus another 36. So
Yes.
he's, okay, I see what he's saying now.
not realize that's clear as Dan
It's-
said, the creek, Bull Creek.
$72 more off of
Mhm.
the 1523,
Right.
or
Right.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, you said it was 133.
It was 133
And if they
and
did-
change.
And
if
I
they-
had 72 more to that. And so you got that.
205.
205 more off of the 1523. So that would take the county's part down to 1302
For a family.
for family.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, that's just employee and children.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
include children.
yeah, that, I mean, when employee and family, what it costs is about $1,000 more than employee and children.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying, really, to change our numbers, we
to
must
start
look
paying
at
more.
our employees paying more for our dependents. Otherwise, we're just creating the same budget with higher deductibles.
Here's a good example. So employee and family is 2582 currently.
Okay.
Employee only is 959. So that's It's a big chunk of change to ask an employee to pay every month
Mhm.
without a raise. So if we cover the employee, say you did $1,000 to cover everybody, or you just, if it was $1,000 and that's what they got to cover, the employee would have to come up with, they have the family, they would come up with another $1,582 per month. With one child, they'd come up with 226. So it's gonna vary. It's
And
gonna
that would,
range.
I mean, that would significantly reduce how much we're paying for health insurance. But then on the flip side, it does significantly increase what the employee's paying and to have a higher deductible.
And that 1582 without a raise or without something, that's a paycheck
Well, no,
for a lot of employees. So that's something we've gotta take into consideration.
oh, yeah, I agree 100%, but like I said, we're having to deal with something that, we have.
Yeah.
Essentially we have no control over rates going up,
No, we don't.
and that's, so,
Yeah. And even with the best plan, or say the cheapest, 967, option 3, it going up to 967, you're looking at still an increase of from 1582 to 2602. I'm sorry, 2582 to 2602. Still $20 higher for the family.
Mhm.
Looking at what we have here.
mhm.
And Kathy did say she would pull the plans that got us
Yeah.
equal or lower than what we're currently at.
Okay.
But that's, again, not going to change our budget. That's just changing it.
And that's, you gotta keep in mind that deductible for those folks also is out of their pocket as well.
Mhm.
Well, it's the same story as what I've been into since had my first child. Parents were taking kids that had a virus to the doctor constantly. And that going to the emergency room for a virus is, you don't know what you're doing, because there's not one thing in the world that they can give you to help you get over the virus. But they demanded it enough parents going, that they started giving them antibiotics. And because of that, now have antibiotic strain and microbial strains that there's nothing that will touch them because of that very reason. And so there's got to be a paradigm change in the way that we view our health and the health of our children, or nobody's going to be able to afford health insurance, period. Any kind of health insurance. And we can't get to that position. We've got to incentivize people. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to,
More
can
popular.
no, it's not going to be popular. That's true. And without a raise, it'd be impossible to do it.
Doesn't that defeat purpose? If you raise all this and you raise your deductibles,
Mhm. And then give a raise.
then give a raise, does that not defeat your purpose of
No.
making it cost them out of their pocket?
No, because if you incentivize people to get healthy, in time they're going to get healthy. Because they don't want to pay all those deductibles and they don't want to pay all those co-pays. They want to find out, is there a different way I can live and not be sick? And now I've got more money in my retirement because we're matching it to a certain degree. And you can do what you want to with your own money, but the money that I pay for health insurance every month, I can't do a thing in the world with, because it goes to that whether I use it or not. If I don't use it, I don't have an incentive not to use it at all. And so if you're at some point, they're saying, okay, this is my money I've got here. Do I want to spend it on healthcare, or do I want to spend it to be healthy? And a lot of that's free stuff. Get off the couch and move. I mean, our lymphatic system does not work unless you move. No wonder people are sick. Because they sit and binge. I hear people talking about it all the time. I binge watched all night this particular show. Well, of course you're going to be unhealthy. So, I mean, there are ways to do this. And in time, it's going to be, do I want to spend my money here, or am I going to let the county just pay for it all and I'll do as I wish? I mean, there's got to be something there to be able to accomplish that. And I don't like spending my money on healthcare. I want to spend it on something that makes me feel better, that I can get out and do those things with my grandchildren that many people that are 10 years older than me can't do it today. Their knees were messed up. They've already had knee replacement surgery. Their shoulders were messed up. There was a lady that came to my house 5 times and worked out on my power plate. Didn't even work out, just sat there and rocked 5 times. She was walking up the stairs sideways. After 5 times, walked down the stairs the same way I did without any pain. Still went and got knee surgery replacement because she couldn't eat clean food. I just can't stand to eat that way. It's just too hard. So we get knee replacement surgery. Well, goodness, at least she is in her 70s instead of 50s, but now it's 50s.
Mhm.
People are getting their joints replaced under 50. This is not going to go away. This is going to get worse. We have got to do something to change the paradigm. And yes, it's going to hurt people to some degree. No doubt about it. It is going to hurt some people. But in time, we can move away from this thing of incentivizing people to be unhealthy because it doesn't cost me anything to be unhealthy. I can go see my doctor. I know older people now, they go see their doctor because they're lonely. They do. They go out and make an appointment with their doctor so they just not having to be alone.
I still want to keep in mind those that have no options. Insulin, in the state of Texas, they just, legislature just passed, it's going to the governor's desk, where insulin will cost you more than a certain amount if you're on insurance. If you don't have insurance, that insulin rate is still high.
And so what do I have to do to get rid of insulin?
You can't if you're type 1.
No, how many people that are in our county are type 1 diabetes? I mean, you see that very, very seldom, type 1. I don't know. I mean, I know one person that I met in the hospital because Mother and I were going out there every Sunday. That was type 1. That's the only one. That I mean, how many as per capita is there? What percentage? Is there 3%?
Don't know the percentages.
We're going to hurt some people. But the thing about it is, if we don't get healthier and take control of our own health, they're going to see more. It's not going to be 2 to 3%. It's going to be 15%. And look, for the first time in my life, I am now seeing advertisements, and you've probably seen them too, on television, talking about the reason that you're obese is because of insulin resistance. What a shocker. They've been talking about it for 30 years for those that are integrative medical personnel, but we don't hear it. The Pirates never had scurvy because they realized that citrus stopped it. But the British government didn't get the idea and publish in the medical journals until 30 years later. Oh my good grief, guys.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we can't do anything about none of it until we get the numbers together.
That's right.
And see
And
what we
make a
can
plan.
do, and we all get together and go through this again.
Here we go.
So,
Try it again on the 15th.
Yep.
Kathy, thank you again for coming and
Yeah.
spending so much time with us.
She's here all day.
And actually, I was just looking to see what I had on the 15th, and no, I will be down at College Station.
That's okay. That's all right.
So,
If we
but
have
it
any
is-
questions, we'll make sure and get them to you before then.
Okay.
And
Well, in that particular day, it's a conference.
Sure.
So if y'all need me during court, I should be able to answer my phone.
okay,
And she'll get us those numbers later on today.
right.
So, start a dialogue between me and you.
Yeah.
And then y'all can bring your own policies to court, and so.
I'm gonna run mine through a filter first.
Hey, I think I finally,
Well, maybe it's
Well,
I
easier.
finally got it.
Confused for a
Yeah, you
minute.
did.
I cleared your water up a
You
little.
did. You did.
So you need a melody filter.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway,
All right, court to consider designating the month of June as National Cancer Survivor Month.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say that since we had that, we're planning on that walk this weekend, I believe it is. It would be,
I make the motion we designate June as National Cancer Survivor Month.
Second.
all right, all in favor, I think we got it. All right, court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of funds distributed to counties for American Recovery Plan. How are you today, Angela?
Asleep?
Waiting my turn.
This is from the American Recovery Plan. And
These funds are held in a Texas Cost Reserve account until we have further specifications on what they can be used for, and there will be a budget needed to spend it. There will be quarterly reports that I must submit to the federal government, and there is a first one that is due coming up in the end of June. And then there will be a quarterly one after that it will be due but there's still not clear details on what it can for sure be allowed to be spent on or not. It's very vague in the language, so.
yeah, and the June budget should be fairly easy. Zero spent.
Yes, that one is, I don't really know what else going to be on it. It's not really a quarterly report for that one. It's an interim report that is due for the first tranche of distributions.
Mhm.
And then after that, it's a quarterly report.
Okay.
Aren't we pretty sure that there's a couple of things that it can be spent on right now, COVID-19 related things?
Yes,
as well as
COVID-19 related
Broadband.
infrastructure such as broadband, yes, but you have to make sure like it falls under these specific things. NACO has a very good explanation of what they understand it to be right now. I've also been on a GFAO member now and getting more information from them. So I've been in several different Zoom conferences to get the information of what it will be allowed to be spent on, but they're all pretty much the same thing. They don't know what the government's going to actually require for documentation.
Yeah, wow. I would imagine you have to, you would want to spell it out very well.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
exactly.
It does have to have its own fund, and it does have to have its own budget
Mhm.
of where, and all documentation submitted with the reports when we do all of that, of everything that's spent. And then we'll get the other additional 1.6 million within 12 months of this one.
Now, they're not aligned with the state in that if you get grants and you haven't, all your employees haven't done the cybersecurity training, that you forfeit.
No, this is something completely different
Okay.
because this come from the American Recovery Plan that this administration signed into. Whatever, and
You can imagine that they're getting more and more interested in cybersecurity training though, because of, look at the oil line out here in the east that crippled it for
Well, and
weeks.
with this funds that have come out, there have been a lot of attacks attempted because, or different hackers, whatever, emailing and saying, hey, we know you have this funds, you can spend it on this, and you really can't spend it on that. So there are a lot of different things going in the works right now, people trying to get extra money or whatever, but
Well, until we know how we can spend it, let's at least certify it so we keep it.
Absolutely.
we have 1.6
Is that a motion?
Yes.
1,622,181,
Okay.
and it is in an interest-bearing reserve account at Texas Club.
Very good.
All in favor? Yes, sir. Court to consider certification of additional revenues in the form of payment from EDF Renewables for damages to Precinct 1 road from the wind farm.
This was that 1.1 million that precinct 1 received for the damage to their road. We will have a budget amendment next time to put that in there, but as of right now, it's just certifying it.
Let's make a motion to certify the 1.1 million.
Second.
All in favor? All right, court to consider abandoning Kobe Lane in Precinct 1. I'll leave that to you, Chris.
Always, anytime somebody calls me and they want to abandon a road that doesn't affect other people, that just suits me all to pieces. The less roads we have to maintain, the less cost to the taxpayer. This is one of those roads that was taken into the county. They still wanted it whenever did the county road map. And so we left it that way because we had been maintaining it for many years. They were ready to take it out. I'm ready to get rid of it. It's probably 3/4 of a mile long. And it's in good condition. And I told them, I said, now look, this will never come back again. And okay, all right. So I think that it's time to abandon.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Court to discuss and consider bids on tax deeds and property cards for trust property in the city of Snyder. We have one. It is, they're paying $1,100 for the lot. It's east 75 feet of Block 3 and Block 77 of Graham and Nelson Addition in the city of Snyder.
Make a motion to accept the bid.
All in favor? Line item transfers and budget amendments
There's not any.
and accounts payable.
$889,958.43.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
I make a bid.
Third.
All in favor? That's all of us.